Welcome back to Shit Creek Survivors. We share real stories of resilience, real tools for resilience, and hope for anyone stuck in their own shit creek right now. I'm Cameron, and our guest today is Wild Willie Thornton, who's a DJ, podcast host, creative entrepreneur, and the founder of Soul Impact: How Music Saves Us. Willie has spent years creating space for artists, veterans, and everyday people to tell the truth about how music helped them survive their darkest moments. And in this conversation, you'll hear why he believes music isn't just entertainment. It's therapy, it's connection, and sometimes it's the reason someone stays alive one more day. Dennis and I also are going to share parts of our own story, from law enforcement and military trauma to PTSD, addiction, and the moment when you finally realize, if I'm still here, I need to get my shit together. This episode is not about blaming the past or pretending that the pain didn't happen. It's about finding your why, taking responsibility for your healing, and surrounding yourself with people who help you paddle instead of pulling you under. If you're struggling right now, you're not alone, and this conversation's for you. Let's get into it. He's actually my former patrol partner. We worked in the city of Webster Groves together, if you know that area at all.
A little bit.
And then when Ferguson happened, they ended up splitting up special operations, put us into different divisions and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up getting shot one of those nights. I took a 40 in my cheek right here, and it went through my head, hit me on the back of the inside of the skull, and it dropped down into my neck where it came to rest in my carotid artery and jugular. What's crazy is I was home 8 hours later with a bullet in my neck. They decided they weren't going to take it out. It was literally touching my carotid artery and jugular. You know what I mean? So they're like, we're not accessing that area. I was at Barnes, and I was home 8 hours later because they're like, would you like to go home? I'm like, sure. So I went home, and as soon as I fell asleep, I had terrible dreams. I just figured that would end eventually, but PTSD just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And as it got worse and worse and worse, I kept drinking and drinking and drinking, and then that became a problem on its own. Before you know it, 8 months later, I no longer have my job with the department because they don't think I'm going to be able to come back. There's a couple things that kind of broke my heart along the way, but obviously I didn't want to lose my job. I wanted to keep being a police officer, so it broke my heart to lose it. But kind of watching the brotherhood turn into a business really quick. It like really quickly, it was like I was a piece of equipment that no longer operated at 100%. So they're trying to see if this is still an piece of equipment they wanted to maintain. Right. So ended up being kind of like that. Drinking got worse. And at the year anniversary, I ended up, I was in bed. It was around 9 p.m. Weird day, the anniversary of getting shot. And then my wife found me in bed having a seizure. She's like, I'm calling EMS. I'm like, the hell you are? Because I was ready to die. I felt totally taken advantage of. And I was a victim, total victim at this point. And ended up so I got to the hospital after multiple seizures. My blood pressure's through the roof. They think I'm about to have a seizure, but then they realize I have a Press syndrome going on in my cranium, which means that the pressure within my cranium was actually so high it was squeezing my brain, causing the seizures. So they stabilized me, but after they stabilized me, I went into alcohol withdrawal, which is good that I was there. I was in a medical atmosphere, so they were able to kind of medically withdraw me. But during that time, somehow I got pneumonia, which turned into double pneumonia, which turned into my right lung collapsing. And at some point, I had a near-death experience where I actually got to cross over and hold my grandma's hand in heaven. Now, trust me, this wasn't easy to process when it happened. This is 10 years later, me being able to kind of connect the dots, do a lot of work and figure out what's going on. But anyways, I no longer saw leaving this planet as an option. And I figured if I'm still here, I need to get my shit together. So I had to start with getting sober, went into the AA program, one step at a time. I was doing one moment at a time. I could barely live, I couldn't live with it, couldn't live without it. And so I had to get really humble. And I went through that process, and I was I think when I got into the program, I was very prideful. Very victim mentality. But then I started hearing people share stories that I would never share with anybody, personal stuff. No, I'm not sharing that with anybody. That's my business. But after a while, I started to realize that some of the things they were saying rang true for me. And I was like, oh, I think like that, or I've thought that way before. I've done that thing. And I just started realizing over time that we were stronger. It was just crazy that, for the first time I was reaching out to God asking for help. If you're there, I need you. Like that sort of thing, like negotiating with God. And basically things started changing. And as things started changing, I started helping more people. Before you know, I was speaking at the police academy about being injured in the line of duty and like all that kind of stuff. Now, Dennis has his own little story. If Dennis, you would fill Wild Willie in on it.
Well, I did several years in the military, and I was a police officer down in Dallas at the airport for a while. And then I did my deployment to Iraq, all before I came to Webster Groves and worked with Cameron. And I would say during the Ferguson stuff, it kind of put me back into a deployment mode. I mean, like the hostile environment, I'm back home. It's not supposed to be a hostile environment. I think it kind of did a number on my head, and I didn't really realize it at the time either. But yeah, fast forward 10 years, Cameron and I are meeting up, and it's right after both our fathers passed, and we decided to do this podcast because it was like, at the very least, we could just keep each other accountable. Just, on a weekly basis, talk to each other, touch base, go ahead and record it in case somebody gets something out of it. And now it's kind of taken flight. I mean, we're getting some traction. I'm getting recognized out in public. Uh, got a fun little email that I love sharing. It just makes me laugh so much. Cameron got it. Said that we were the number 158th ranked self-help podcast in Finland.
Nice.
And it was just a random
thing.
Just a random email from, I don't even know who it was. Be like, hey, I thought you should know this. So anyways, we figured out by sharing our stories, the good, the bad, the ugly, which we call our shit creek, where we thought we'd never end up, and now we don't even know how the hell we're going to get out of it. By sharing those moments, it helps other people in those moments right now.
Yeah, it helps you get your paddle.
Yeah, and if we can share the tools that we acquired, we call them our paddles, how we personally were able to get out of the situations we share those and hope somebody else could use that paddle. And what happens is we keep bringing people on from different walks of life. We've had drug dealers turn pastors. We've had Willie Thornton reaching out to us. We've had humanitarian clowns, a clown that actually studied under Patch Adams, who now does those mission trips on behalf of Patch Adams. Just people talking about yoga, trauma coaches, mental health.
I went back and I watched a bunch of your episodes.
Cool. All right. So as you can tell, it's like a wide variety of people.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. You said that you checked out a couple episodes. So really, I guess we'll jump straight to it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Wild Willie. How'd you even get the name, and tell us what you do?
Honestly, the Wild Willie come from when I was drinking. Never knew what was going to come out of my mouth or what I would do while DJing. So a good friend of mine gave me the nickname.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't think it would stick, and here I am 5 years later, and it's what I'm known as. And for a while, I didn't use it because I had quit drinking, and we talked a little bit on the phone, and I didn't know how to keep that persona without drinking. So I just went by Willie Thornton for a while until I realized that I could still be that fun, energetic person without a bottle.
There we go.
I mean, because I want my daughter and the people I try to help, just like I do a lot of stuff to help veterans. As you can see, I teamed up with Operation Combating Veteran Suicide. But I also, like this weekend, I had a chance to do a hero marathon that at the finish line. And I do that I've had my business for 5 years. And I've done that for 5 years. I never charged them, and I do other stuff, like I do a local toy drive, I DJ it. I believe you gotta take care of your community, and your community isn't just the people in Salem, Missouri for me, or, to me, it's anyone watching my podcast, anyone that I've connected with. I'm very much in the entertainment industry, so anyone in that entertainment industry, if I can help, I'm gonna help, and I've used through my podcast, I'm actually teamed up with OCVS, which is the short version of Operation Combating Veteran Suicide. it's
Awesome.
easier saying OCVS than saying that every time you want to refer to it.
Right.
But next year in Missouri, I'm bringing 2 benefits festivals, and I'm going to run sound or bring them in, like, all proceeds, the price to get in, the vendor's fee, every dime I make is gonna go straight to that organization because they're trying to raise money for housing veterans, and
Yeah.
so I believe, I've had my struggles. I've had PTSD, as we talked about, and
Mhm.
everybody thinks, "Oh, it's not a real thing, blah, blah, blah." Yeah. Say it ain't a real thing when you're going through it,
Right, exactly.
I like to refer to it as an engine. The engine looks normal, but if it's having issues on the inside, the issues are still gonna be there. Just 'cause you can't see them, don't mean they're not
That's
there,
that's very true. Well
you
said.
know? So, I've kinda learned at an early age, with the child abuse. I mean, no kid should have to endure what I went through, but I found
Yeah.
out music was that thing that kinda taught me it's okay to feel like the world's falling apart. It's okay to not be okay initially.
Yeah. It's okay to feel, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I
Gives you some
found
normalcy.
football, and by hearing the run come out songs and walkout songs, whatever you wanna call them,
Right.
um, that triggered different things for me. I was like, "Ooh, I like how this songs make me feel." It hypes me up. So then in the early 2000s, late 90s, it wasn't easy. You couldn't just sit at a computer and Google music.
Right.
Yeah.
It took a little work. So I remember going to Walmart when Walmart used to have that stand when you could scan the CDs and sample the CDs and
Yep.
sit there with your headphones on.
Yep.
And, "Oh, I like this song. Y'all buy this CD." At one point, I probably had close to 2,000 CDs
Yeah.
just because I like what each song had to offer. And then I kinda forgot about it for a while, to be honest, and I got busy with the hustle. I worked a job. I was miserable. I worked 75 hours a week. Then I had a head-on collision back in 21, and, I was hit so hard I was driving a '98 Dodge pickup, bent the frame in 3 different places, broke the frame in 3 different places,
Oh,
and messed up my back and my shoulder. They wanted surgery, but
yeah.
I know people that's had the same surgery they wanna do, and 10 years later, there's another back surgery. So, as
Yeah.
long as I'm walking, I'm not gonna do the surgery. But I got fired through text, sitting at a hospital
Oh,
because I wasn't coming into work. I had devoted 3.5 years to this company. I was the assistant supervisor in the bagging room. I worked at a charcoal plant, and it really shook me because I had quit drinking throughout that time. But when you find out that you're replaceable and you can be fired through text after all these years of dedication, it kinda it sent me down a very dark. And of course, prior to that, I was married, and it was a very toxic marriage, and it cost me my older kids. Um, and I was able to, so that bottle, was my friend for a long time.
mhm.
And once I finally get out of that funk, I get in a car accident and sent me right back down it again. And then once I gathered my bearings, I was like, okay, I can't work a regular job because that 12 hours or 10 hours, however long it is that I'm on my feet doing that manual labor, I'm going to spend, then it's better now, but I'd spend 2 or 3 days laid up in bed because I couldn't move.
Mm,
So went and listened to some music, and I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be a DJ. Let's just take that leap.
mhm.
And um, went and bought my first system, bought it off Facebook Marketplace, and fell in love with it all over again. And then I was able to see it, and that's the thing I love about DJing is I also run sound for festivals, but, the DJing part, you play these songs and you see someone come in and they look like they got the weight of the world on their shoulder,
Mhm.
but by the time you're done, you know, you gotta play into that, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's easy to DJ, I can play the songs I like," and, you know,
Right.
that may have been part of the reason why I got into DJing. I wanted to make, like, I'm big in the '70s, late '90s music, all genres.
Mhm.
I mean, I love country the most, but I love all genres and what they have to offer. So I wanted to make that era of music popular again.
Yeah.
That's the real reason I got into DJing. I'm not gonna lie. And then I quickly realized that that's not the case, and I have to stay very current on music. And even though I think some of it's garbage,
It's what the people want. You got to give it to them.
unfortunately, I mean, I bring earplugs sometimes. You know, and I've had a lot of weddings where it would surprise you that their walkout song was Godsmack, and then they went from Godsmack to I Can Love You Like This. I mean, the ranges of music, and that's what cracks me up is like, and I was telling Cameron if we had a chance to talk, is I use music to take me through the 5 stages of grief.
Mm,
If I'm sad, I will listen to a sad song that is similar to what I'm going through.
yeah.
And then once I get through that, I'm able to, all right, I'm over the sadness. Let's go through the next emotion. You know, I did not go through I did not go through blah, 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 AA to quit drinking. I found a local church group, and that is what helped me, you know. And I have that
Good.
group of guys that when I first quit drinking, I would struggle at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Man, when you're alone in your head, and
Mhm.
you know, for a long time I kept alcohol bottles in my house, but I didn't touch them.
Yeah.
But it come to a point where I had to dump them out or get rid of them. I gave it to family. I probably gave so much money of alcohol. I mean, now I look at it, just threw it away. Um, but them guys would I could call on them and say, "Hey, I'm struggling tonight." And they would sit on the phone with me while they're struggling, you know, and
Yeah.
so I think we need to get back to, like you said earlier, holding each other accountable. I mean,
Hmm.
I believe iron sharpens iron.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we're communal creatures. We're meant to be around other people. Even if you don't talk, just the ministry of presence, as we talked about on here before, just having somebody there to be with you as you're going through something can mean the world to some people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And you can find that companionship sometimes in a song. I mean, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And what's neat is I don't even have to ask you what paddle you were using because you're literally saying that when you were feeling sad, you actually leaned into it and used a song to feel the emotion compared to running from it, which is
Yeah.
different than the normal response. Normal
Oh,
response is
I
get away
ran from
from
a
it.
long time. I ran for a long time,
You
not gonna
ran for a
lie.
long time. So you
But
actually learn then that by listening to the songs that make you feel the feeling even more or kind of lean into it, it allows you to process those feelings
oh,
instead of it just sitting there idle. Is that right?
oh, absolutely. I mean, look, I've always loved the song "What Hurts the Most" by Rascal Flatts.
Yeah.
It was originally done by Mark Willis, so and a lot of people don't know that because it was made popular by Rascal Flatts. Always
Mm,
loved that song. But when I went through my divorce, that song hit so much different because of what the words said, you know, and you hear a song and I love it when you hear an artist, and as a sound guy for different festivals, I see it a lot. I love it when these people come in and they put their heart and soul into every performance
mhm.
because then you know that artist or no been through that situation, whether it's depression, anxiety, you know, I'm big on mental health. I
Yeah.
really am. Um, because a lot of times people think they're alone. And
Mhm.
I'm the only one that's going through a divorce where I want to give up. I'm the
Yeah.
only one going through a divorce where, and then you can even add more into that. I'm the only one going through a divorce where I'm a single parent and I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet.
Mhm.
Um, let me cash out, you know?
Yeah.
So and I say this almost every episode, that you're not alone,
Hmm.
and I believe that, one's, at my darkest moment, a quote that got told to me was, "You win if you don't quit,"
Yeah.
and that can be, and to me, I took that because I had to, as like you, I had to get to where I was able to do one moment at a time.
Hmm.
And I'd take that a little step further at first, and I had to do it one breath at a time
Yeah.
because I was so overwhelmed by everything and the drinking. I drank for 20 years religious, actually, probably longer than that. Started
Hmm.
drinking at 10 years old. So I
Right.
drank all my life pretty much.
Hmm.
And so I got to a point where, not necessarily because I wanted it, it was just habit, to be completely honest. So it was habit for me to walk into a bar and grab a bottle and be the life of the party. That was who I was even before I was a DJ.
Right.
And so I had to learn so many things. It's okay not to pick up a bottle. It's
Hmm.
okay to say no. Um, but what you got to realize is, you're in a group that isn't respecting you saying no, maybe you need to change groups. And that was a hard one for me to do because for me that meant cutting out some family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No one really considers that part, which is when you're getting rid of the thing, you've got to sometimes get rid of the people, places, and things
oh,
that
exactly.
that remind you of that thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
And
a
I've
it's a
seen
tough
so
process.
And I've seen so many addicts, like, I have a long line of family members that are addicts, and I've seen so many addicts that they'll get out of jail, they'll do their time, but then they go right back to where they were
Yep.
living,
Yep.
and I get it, that's where family is, but sometimes you gotta look at the situation, and that's what I had to do. After my after I went through what my losing my kids to the state, it shook me. It really did. I moved counties. I moved from Texas County, which is a small town in Raymondville with like 390 people, where everybody knew everybody,
Yeah.
to Salem, which is a little bigger, but I needed different. I
Yeah.
needed people that I knew what I wanted to go. I knew why I wanted my DJ to be a pillar in the community, and it has gotten there. I've had articles written about me about what I do in the community.
Awesome.
And I don't do it for that. I do it to help the community because I know what it's like to be that parent that struggles.
Hmm.
Or on the flip side of that, I know what it was like to be that kid that didn't have very much growing up.
Hmm.
So if I can help that by my story or by what I do in the community, then you know what? I don't care. And this is what I tell everybody. I don't care if my podcast ever makes a dime.
Hmm.
I would love for it to make money, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I don't care if it ever makes a dime because if I help one person,
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what we believe in. We see it as scattering a whole bunch of seeds, and at least some of them should hit fertile ground.
at some point, at
You
some
know,
point,
just
And
fistfuls of seeds, just throwing them out.
and the trees that grow there will cast shade that we'll maybe never ever see, but we just know that we're planting some seeds, and that's just
Yeah.
and it's working through him. It's being the glove, like we say sometimes.
Yeah.
oh,
Uh,
absolutely. I mean, and too many times people try to face it alone,
yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like it's a pride thing. It really is because
Hmm.
coming from somewhere, and I'm sure you two can relate that you're so embarrassed of what you've done that it's easier to just distance yourself.
Yeah. But
So
you said
100%.
something really profound a second ago. You said that you had to start out really small. It was even just a breath at a time. And there's like an awesome quote from Jordan Peterson. He says, "You don't have to move all the bigger boulders. Just move a small rock. Just start somewhere. As long as you're moving that direction. Like you want to clean your house, start with your sock drawer. Start small. So you started small with your breathing, and as long as you're moving forward, you'll gain momentum, and happiness will breed more happiness, and positivity will breed more positivity."
Yeah.
no, absolutely. I mean, and it's easy. And what I had to stop myself. And this goes out there to anybody listening. Um, don't compare yourself to anybody else because they are
Exactly.
further along in their walk. just because Cameron may have 10 years and I have 2 years in my sobriety doesn't mean that he's better than me. It means he started his journey before me.
Yeah.
So, and I went through a lot of times, and if someone can, whether it's addiction, drinking, depression, whatever it is, when someone finally lets that go, some people, and I used to get so mad that I have a friend, we used to drink all the time, and he quit drinking like that. Never struggled, still to this day. Never struggled. He said, and we used to hold each other accountable. And he's like, Willie, I don't even have a taste for it. I'm like, I would have loved for it to have been that easy for me,
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not. There's days like even now, something happens and I'll be like, man, a cold beer sure would be nice right now.
Yeah.
And music can hinder that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like music has so much power, but if you're listening to crap that's talking about going out, drinking a 40 and getting drunk and ramming the town, garbage in, garbage out. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I have to be super careful with that because if I'm listening to the wrong stuff for too long, like those attitudes will show up in my life.
oh,
And,
dude.
and what's funny is like angry music, when you're listening to it, especially if you're angry at the time, like you can bite into it, chew it, and like, get it, get it, get it. But what my problem is when I walk away from it, I'm still walking away with sort of that attitude, if you will. You know what I mean? Can be a little bit more aggressive, and I got to be careful with that because it's different after I got hurt. I have less. I hate to say I have less control, but it affects me more, like throughout my day. If I'm listening to like I'm going to kill everybody, in my workout, and then I go off into the world, it's not as calm, kind, patient, loving, as I want to be. You know what
You're
I mean?
preaching to
Like,
the choir there.
yeah.
Road
So
rage.
so it's like you got to find that like spot. And I know when we talked earlier, you even have to be careful with temptation because, like you said, if they're talking about drinking a 40 or like you mentioned to me offline, like country music. Country music talks about beer and whiskey and all that kind of stuff and bonfires. And that can even get me sometimes. I'm like, that sounds so much fun. But the truth is, it's one of the things I had to distance myself from, like I couldn't trust. The problem is like, I came to the realization that it wasn't the people around me that I couldn't trust. It's I can't trust myself around those people. So it's not anything to do with them. It's like I have to, in order to keep myself in line, if I have any shot at this, I've got to go 100% towards sobriety. At least for me, I had to go 100% because I knew I didn't have any other chance. Now your friend, he's the opposite side of the spectrum. He's able to, I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, why?
And I really do. I used to tell him, I'm so jealous of you. Here
Yeah.
I am. I have the taste of alcohol still in my mouth. And you're over here, man, don't bother me at all. I'd be like, man. And I
I
said,
wonder
I
if it
don't
really
want,
does bother him, but he just says it that way because it's part
no,
of
he
his
is,
process to like speak it into existence.
no, he is like one of the most trustworthy persons. Like when he went through his divorce, we're so open with each other that I knew he was ready to end his own life. I knew all this stuff. Like, he's not one of them guys. And that's the thing. If you're going to find someone to hold you accountable, you can't lie because then it's not doing you any good. Or because for me, you got to be real. You got to be intentional. And if by doing so, when you tell someone, and I'll use you guys, hey, I struggled today because this morning life was going south and I happened to see a beer commercial, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You got to be honest. And, that's what I had to learn because when I first quit drinking, I tried so hard, but people can read me like a book. And I would be like, no, I didn't struggle at all today. And they're like, now, really, Willie? Because I'm good at putting on a smile. I did it for 12 years in a toxic marriage. I'm good at putting on a smile.
Right.
So, But then I realized, the best thing I can do to myself is be true to who I am.
Yeah.
Be true to my struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying look back at every mistake you made. I'm not saying that. But
Mm-hmm.
use those as learning tools because, and we talked about cars earlier, so I'll give you another car reference. You ever notice the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror?
Yep.
Because that's more important about where you're going than where you've been. And,
100%.
that was one that was told by a preacher to me here in town, and through my divorce, and because I was like, man, I could have done this different. I could have done that different. If I would have loved her a little harder, or maybe if I would have helped her get the help she needed, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I try to put and that's just who I am. I'm the person that if I'm in a situation and something goes south, everything's my fault.
Mm.
No one has to tell me it's my fault.
Yeah.
Now, I have started changing that because I was raised, and I love my mother to death, but we're a victim society.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, you can be a victim, and there's nothing wrong with being a victim, but don't live there. What I
Mm.
mean by that is don't be like, well, last year I went through a divorce, or like me, I've been divorced 3 years. Man, my divorce was so hard on me, and blah, 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 blah. You know what? That's 3 years ago. Time to move on. And almost people uses it as poor
Right.
me, woe me, however you want to say it,
Mm-hmm.
that society has normalized that. They really has. And I think it hinders people because why get help if I can stay in the situation where I'm at and I know this person down the street is going to help me anytime I need it?
Yeah.
Or, you know, the little things. Tell my daughter all the time, don't say sorry if you're going to do it again. It makes people mad that I tell her that
Mm-hmm.
because, like, if she's going to do something and then she knows she's going to do it. Now, don't get me wrong. If she hits somebody and we're in public or whatever, I make her apologize. I make her.
Yeah.
But if we're at home and she hits me and she'll say sorry, I say, are you really though?
Right.
Because if you look to the true meaning of repentance is to mean to turn away from and not do it again.
Right.
Initially, when you tell someone sorry, you're saying you're repenting to that person for what you've done to them.
Yeah.
So why say sorry if I'm gonna stick my foot out and trip you again? Why? And I know I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
So why say sorry? Now
Right.
I've gotten to a point, and she has caught on where we'll use this morning. She hit me because she didn't want to put her shoes on. She didn't want to go to school. I got on to her. I sent her away. I sent her to go think about what she did in her room.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't tell her she had to come me sorry. I said, I just want you to go think about what you did. She comes out. I said, and you can come out when you're done thinking about it. I didn't say she had to stay in there. And she comes out. It was probably like 3 minutes. It wasn't very long. She's 3 years old, so I never punished her very long. But she come out on her own and say, I'm sorry, Daddy, I hit you. See, then, you know,
She means it.
she means it. And to me, it's so easy and especially in the dating world these days,
Mm-hmm.
it's horrible. The way I love you is thrown around, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, words don't needs to get back to words actually mean what they mean
Yeah.
instead of just throwing stuff out there like, you know, I could say talk till I'm blue in the face, but if I don't mean what I say, then my word's no good.
Yeah. Very
Yeah, I
true.
noticed that the other day watching a TV show, like the hyperbole from the meaning of words. Like, I think it was Dancing with the Stars. Like, what does it mean to win this competition? Or it means everything. Why would you say it means I'm like, you're over exaggerating it. I can't imagine what dating would be like right now, though.
It's
Yeah.
a septic tank.
I,
You know, you mentioned
I'm on my third marriage, but we've been married for 17 years now. Or we just had our anniversary last Thursday,
Well,
or last
congratulations.
Friday.
Or happy anniversary,
So,
I guess.
and I just couldn't imagine the dating in the world right now with all the apps and all the things. Oh,
I tell everybody I'm not looking, and I'm religious, and I don't push that on anybody. But I tell everybody, if God wants me to get married again, He's gonna have to smack me in the face with her.
yeah. Well, he
and he
will.
will.
Careful what you ask
Yeah,
for.
I was about to say he will.
I ain't asked Him to do it yet, so I'm just saying. I'm not
Yeah.
asking. I'm not saying, "Hey, God, smack me in the face with somebody." Okay, I'm not asking. But
You know, you mentioned, just really quick so I don't forget, I want to rewind, but you mentioned the idea of not only people being victims, but it's sort of like a victim society. And what I've even noticed is it's even gone past that to the point where we're competing who is the biggest victim.
oh
Do you
yes,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like
yes, I
almost a
can.
competition. No, I'm in a worse position. 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 And as you're doing that, nothing's happening. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like we're
I seen
looking
it
for,
so. I
yeah, we're
seen it
looking
so
for
much.
attention for having the hardest fall.
Yeah,
It's really kind of the back way of thinking it. We're like
yeah.
seeking that sympathy. And in a way, not only are we seeking someone to save us, but we believe they're supposed to, which is super dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh
you're
yes.
supposed to save me. And that's not true. And you find that out really quick in the real world when, you know what I mean? When you really run into something in your life, people might pat your back and be like, yeah, I got you. But the truth is, you've got to go through it. You've got to feel the feels. You got to do the things. You got to process what you got to process. And it's a process, and it's a scary process. And we all have to go through it ourselves.
And it's hard process, trust me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you go through it, I mean, like I said, I'm religious but I believe God put me through what I've gone through. Not so much put me, let me rephrase the wording, allowed me to go through what I went through because there's going to be a point in my life where I'm able to help somebody. And I've already been doing it in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
I've had people come up to me at this marathon I did last week. I didn't know the people to save my life. Never
Mhm.
seen them before. And they're like, one of them was from Oregon and says, I've seen your podcast. I love what you're doing. And I was like, what? You're
Yeah,
from
that's
Oregon?
awesome.
But, you know, but if I would have lived in that victim mindset, and this is what people don't understand how to break. If I would have lived in that victim mindset, I wouldn't be where I am today
Mhm.
because I gave it up because I knew I don't want my daughter. Well, my dad did this and did this, so it's okay. No,
Mhm.
it's okay to struggle wholeheartedly. You're going to struggle. No matter who you are, you're going to go through life and you're going to have struggles. That's, you know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right.
You'll have little struggles and you have big struggles. That's a guarantee. But it's how you overcome them or how you move forward. You know, if you know that, and this is what I had to do, that especially it was much garbage as I've gone through. Some of it's my own fault, some of it's not. And, but, all right, change your mindset. All right, by going through this, when I see someone overwhelmed at the end of the ropes, I'm going to be able to help that person.
Mhm.
So, you know, and I'm in Walmart the other day, and as a single parent, it is hard, like really hard.
Mhm.
But I seen a dad, you you know the look where there's we have all had it on our face where you're in Walmart, you're overwhelmed, and next thing I know, I turned around and it's just who I am, and I start talking to him. And it's like, so struck up a conversation, and come to find out, he was exactly where I was 3 years ago in a divorce, ready to give up, and
Mhm.
had his kid. And I was like, dude, I've been exactly where you are.
Mhm.
And I was like, so you take them moments and you use them to touch people. You
Yeah.
Yeah, then
know,
they don't
if
feel alone, and it helps them get some closure started that way, or some process of healing started that way.
exactly. I
Good on
mean,
you. Follow your heart. That's the Holy Spirit pushing you to do something like that.
oh,
That's you know.
absolutely.
It is
And
a
that's bring it back to music a little bit. People don't realize the power music really has. Harvard did a study back in 2021 that proved that when you listen to happy music, like on a day to day happy music, your brain releases this chemical called dopamine,
yeah.
which is that chemical that tells you whether to be happy or be motivated. So just by listening music, you're already doing one step to make yourself happy,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's been scientifically proven that music literally saves people's lives.
Yeah. I saw a study recently, and maybe not a study or more of an observation, but a study in itself that not only music has power beyond what we think, because if you expose water as it's freezing to different music, whether it be like love or anger, it will freeze in different patterns. Isn't that crazy? Like
Oh,
it
that
lit
is. I saw that. I saw a thing on Facebook about that.
Yeah, it's like that's so interesting. Now I got to dive way deeper into it, but the idea that like I've also seen it done with sand and different frequencies and vibrations. If you put that sand on, it almost looks like a speaker, like a flat speaker, and then you run the frequency, it'll actually create a design for each different frequency. The
Yes.
sand will follow it. It's so cool. So what I mean to say is like even beyond our full on comprehension, there are things going on in the background that they're still working on, like to prove, like be like this is bigger than what we think it is. Like because water is literally freezing when you give it love in this beautiful pattern, and then when you freeze it when you're like speaking anger over it, it hardens in like a more rigid and you know sharp form. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just such an interesting concept. But I mean,
I'm gonna have
you're
to look
right.
that up.
Yeah, but Willie's right there on the ground floor of it, like actually looking at people, and people are able to reciprocate. Yes, music is powerful. It makes me feel a certain way, but we can't explain what it is. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to really put it to words how it makes you feel because it can give you hope. Music can give you hope when you
Oh,
feel hopeless. You
oh,
know,
exactly.
it can make you feel love when you don't think you'll ever feel love again. It can draw you to things that you never thought you'd be drawn to. I never thought I would listen to Christian music, but now
Me
I
neither.
listen to it
Me
sometimes because
neither.
it's like I can't believe how it makes me feel. Because I was living in such an angry place for a long time, and I was in Atlanta and I was doing deliveries, and I noticed that if I put Christian music on all day, I didn't lose my temper as much. I didn't feel
Oh,
as angry. I didn't feel as hard done to. I didn't feel like a victim as much. And I almost like made myself listen to it, and it was a full on experiment, and it really made a difference. But I can't put it to words what it did,
oh yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
you bring music that up. I love some good Christian music. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
There's a song out there, "Made for More" by Josh
Yes.
Baldwin,
Yep.
and I probably butchered his last name, but um, I love that song. That was a song for me when I was going through my divorce, and I was like, "What am I going to do?"
Hmm.
That song come on the radio, and I was like, "Okay, I'm made for more than what I'm going through at this current moment."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Sometimes what we also say is it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
exactly.
Your growth, your all that kind of stuff. And music is authentic. If it's a good song, there's an authentic level to it. That's why you really connect to it. One of the new ones that I found on YouTube, it's like David Sings the Blues, and it's basically Psalms, the Book of Psalms, but it's all put into like bluesy guitar music and stuff, and
I've,
some AI generated voice singing the words of the song. So it's
I'm gonna
kind
have
of
to look that
interesting.
one up. I'm gonna have to look
Yes,
that one up.
I
I like
think
it.
they're growing on that. I think they've moved into other books that they're starting to do the same bluesy thing for.
Are they?
Yeah.
Probably.
But
It's
you brought in religion, and I'm good with it. Actually, when I went through my divorce, the night my ex-wife left, I'm a person that I've always drove and listened to music, but that night I just needed some quiet. And I was driving hadn't listened to Christian music in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm driving down the road and I'm talking to God. I was like, God, I need a sign that it's okay for me to end my marriage and work on me.
Mm-hmm.
And, not saying a divorce is the answer for everybody, but it was my answer.
Mm-hmm.
And my radio went from never being on, and the preset that it came on was never been on my radio. And it come on to a Christian radio station and it played a song. Lyrics in the song was "Let Go and Let God."
Yeah.
Going down the road, maybe speeding a little bit, but I rolled my window down and flung my wedding ring out the window.
Wow.
And in that moment, I wasn't angry. I wasn't mad. I wasn't sad. That was probably the first bit of joy I had in 12 years.
Mm. Yeah.
Because see, and I think that's where we need to make the break as men, especially need to break them generational curses that we go through. Because for me, seeing my mom and my stepdad, which was abusive, so I'll get out, see them go through and fight all the time. That's what I thought a healthy relationship was. They went to
Mm-hmm.
bed happy each day. They loved each other. But to me, that was a happy relationship.
Right.
That's what not a happy, healthy relationship looked like.
Mm.
So
It's your normal.
yeah, I never hit my ex-wife, but the argument was there. The anger on her part that there was domestic abuse, but
Mm-hmm.
not on my half. And I was okay with it because it's what I saw growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And like my older kids, and part of the reason why they got taken was we used to argue and there was violence in front of them. So it got removed for that reason. But I've learned from that. And like when I'd found out my ex-wife was cheating and I knew shit was going to hit the fan. So was doing a family dinner and I asked my mom, I said, Mom, will you take my daughter? Her name's Cheyenne. And I said, will you take Cheyenne with you tonight? Cause I need to have a hard conversation and I don't want her here. So I use those moments to learn because I knew what I saw in the years past or did even what I did from the years past wasn't healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So as men, we're leading our family, whether we're leading in a positive way or a bit negative way, our kids are going to see what we do. And,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, I hear guys sometimes be like, it's okay. My wife is doing this. No, you need to get your stuff together because your kids are watching you
Yeah.
or not just your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Men are like, especially because there's so many fatherless kids out there that when they see a parent inside Walmart, a man with their kids, they're looking to that parent to see how he's treating their kids.
Right.
So I had to get to that point where, my relationship with my older kids, I get to see them, but it's being restored because of the change in me. And that's
Cool.
where you got to start. You can't say, you know what? It's my ex-wife's fault that I lost my kids. I
Right.
can't say that because I
Yeah,
played a role in it too,
yeah.
you know, and I can't say, and I'm not saying it's all my fault. I made my mistake. But I believe it takes two to have a problem, whether it's a marriage or parenting, whatever it is. If you're in a business partners, it takes two to have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It takes two people to fix that problem, and it ain't going to be fixed if you got one person willing to fix it and the other ain't.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and that's the point I was at. I was willing to do everything I needed to do to save that marriage, but she wasn't there.
Right.
And I had to get to a point where I was okay, and there's nothing wrong with being sad. There's nothing wrong with being sad and processing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's how you process. There's a lot of times, especially like we talked about alcohol. That was how I processed for a long time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You
You have
know,
to have a
yeah,
healthier, what is it called?
coping
Healthy
mechanism.
coping mechanisms. Yeah. So
But
music could definitely be one of those paddles. Religion can be one of those paddles.
yeah,
Golf has been one of those paddles for me. I've been playing a lot more golf and being outdoors and being surrounded by trees and nature and feeling the fresh air, all those kind of things. But you're right. It's okay to be sad. You just can't stay there. If you stay in that sad, then you stay in that victim mindset, and then you don't really get better.
exactly. I mean, and golf is something I always thought about trying. I did it once,
Yeah.
but I wasn't allowed to do it because I worked so much.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I've been thinking about doing it now that, you know, I do work home health as well, part time. That way I don't have no income during winter months. I still have something.
Right.
And I thought about maybe now that I'm part time picking up some golfing, but I don't know yet. I ain't decided. I got
We found out through many, many people. And it's weird because when I first got sober, I started playing golf, which makes no sense because golf used to be one of the things that I did when I drank. So I would go play by myself, and I didn't know what it was, but I felt better being out there than in my basement hiding, especially initially. And it was one of the few places I could I don't know, trust myself going. There weren't a lot of people. I knew I was going to be, there were at least going to be some pockets where I would be alone and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people have, used forest bathing was one term, just immersion into nature, hiking, whatever it may be, that really seems to get them grounded in a way, like
yeah.
being able to just go outside. I don't know if it's the extra oxygen, the sunlight, the trees, whatever it may be. It all, I'm sure,
Yes.
helps.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them. All of them
All of
help.
the above.
Yeah,
See,
all
for
the
me,
above.
that's why I would drive.
Drive.
Like,
Yeah,
because as I'm driving, I see the different scenery and like
Yeah.
yeah,
you look at the scenery or the rolling hilltops here in the Ozarks, and when for me, like I said, on the religious side of it, you look at something at that, and if
mhm,
God cared about that much that He did that,
yeah,
what can He do for me? And I'm not saying I'm in it to get something out of it, but if He's willing to do all this, surely He's not going to leave me high and dry. That's probably a better way of looking at it than say, what can I get out of it, kind of thing. And I was pretty lucky being a single parent. My daughter was little, loved car rides.
yeah,
And now if I was emotional, I did it my brother and his wife to watch her. But if I just needed to take a drive because I was having a rough day or whatever, I'd throw her in her car seat and we'd make 100-mile trip.
hmm,
She was spending time with dad. That's all she knew. She was happy.
yeah. I don't know what it is about being out of your house and just kind of like moving around, and then just gives you that extra bit of rest that you need. I swear I had something deep I was going to say, but now I totally forgot it. But anyways,
I'm glad I'm not the only one that happens to.
yeah, it happens to me all the time. That's why I listen to the whole episode every time when I'm editing, because you got to make sure you catch these little pockets where you're just like brain fart.
Listen, I don't edit mine at all.
You just let it fly.
No, I do but the reason I do that is because like sometimes I have my daughter come up and she says, "Hey daddy, I love you." And I
Yeah.
say, "I love you back." And then she goes plays. I don't edit any of that because I want people to see that it's okay to be messed up and not know exactly how things are going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah. There's a
sure.
level of authenticity to it. Authentic
Yeah.
to it.
Absolutely.
However you would say that.
But
Authenticity.
Now, what would you say to a person who is right now listening and feels hopeless? What would be some words you would bless them with? Like, what would you consider like the definition of resilience, or what would you say to them to keep going? What would you go with?
oh man, I think the biggest advice I can give is remember and find out who you are, for one, because for me, I'm a child of the king, and that's going to keep me going. For two, if you're struggling, find your reason why.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the end of the day, when them days are hard, that why is gonna be what keeps you going. Like for me, my why is I want to be the best person I can for myself, but also I want to be the best dad I can.
Yeah.
That's my why.
Yeah.
And there's days where I've had to strictly rely on that why. So you find that why, and then find someone that can hold you accountable to that why.
Yeah.
Because if you surround your people with you surround yourself with like-minded people,
Mhm.
then you're going to see the change.
Yeah.
And I said this one once already, but you win if you don't quit, because it is so powerful that, that breaks it down to the moments that when you get up this morning, you won, you got out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and someone that deals with depression and PTSD, I had days where that was the only victory I had all day. But you know what? That's a victory.
Yep.
And, the power of believing yourself. There's a saying, and I can't remember who said it to save my life, but it's one person with a belief is equal to a force of 99 with just an interest.
Mm.
And I'm going to have to look it up so I remember who said it, but I've heard that. I was a teenager. So I'm talking 21 years ago.
That's awesome.
So, and that has stuck with me because the power, whether it's you guys doing your podcast, starting a new business, being a parent, whatever it is, your current job, whatever it is, if you believe you're doing that job the best you can and you believe you're able to do that job, when you go into work or do the podcast or whatever it is you're doing, little successes are going to start happening. You speak it into existence kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I believe in that fully too.
I love what you said. You got to find your why. That was something that was suggested to me. It was
I didn't know there was a book
along the way. Yeah, it's Simon Sinek. He put this book out, and it's just kind of like a practical guide to figuring out what it is really your why is. Because a lot of times we can spontaneously I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to raise unicorns on a mountain in Chattanooga. And you're like, that's just not doable, So that's just not doable. So let's figure out, a real why, let's quantify it. Let's figure out what it is. There's probably some SMART goals in there, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, all that kind of stuff that helps you get to your why if you need any help. Now
that's funny that there's a book, because I honestly did not know. To me, I just hit rock bottom, and I knew I had to find what was going to keep me going, and that was finding my why. That is so funny that there's a book, because I've gone 3 years, 4 years, and I've never known there was a book.
I think, someone helped me when I was questioning my why. Now, something that I just remember what I was talking about earlier, how sometimes I know when I was first being told to appreciate nature, I'd look outside, especially if it was fall or winter, and be like, there's some stupid trees outside. I don't care about stupid trees or grass. It turns out that was more of a reflection of where I was mentally than what was actually going on outside. Because now that I realize that I'm not the most done to person in the world, that pretty much everything around me is a miracle and I've been a brat about it, now I can see the tree and be like, oh my gosh, what a creation. You know what I mean? And it flip-flops on you, because now your basket's being filled with gratitude. So you're like, look at this freaking tree. You know what I mean? It just keeps going. It knows when to drop leaves when the fall comes. It knows how to preserve. It knows how to be resilient. It knows how to put, you know what I mean? It's there. You can find
trees are amazing. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Of course they're amazing. They're part of the ultimate design too. They give us the air that we breathe, and what we exhale is the air that they breathe. And if you see a tree without leaves, it looks like lungs.
I have never thought about that.
I have never heard that.
You just
full connection.
You just blew my mind there for a moment. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's the earth lungs, and we're compatible with the way or we're simpatical with them, or whatever word it is. We have to have them. We rely on them. They rely on us.
So we can't wait for the trees to amaze us. We actually have to change to be amazed. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're going to make me go outside and look for a tree that don't have no leaves on it.
I can't wait till I tell someone that and they don't get it. They're just going to look at me cross-eyed, but it's going to be awesome.
Be like, what are you talking about?
Be like, hold on, my buddy Dennis told me. He told me.
Dennis told me, so it must be true. No.
No, that's very cool because, yeah, I totally see it. Yeah,
and that's the thing is, take that to bit. When someone tells you something new, as like when I first started sound, I got thrown into it, running sound for bands because the sound guy showed up. He was drunk, passed out up, and ended up passing out in his truck. And what I had for DJing was way bigger than what I really needed to DJing. I had like 16 channel mixer and I really only needed 2 channels. And they're like, can we use your stuff to run sound? I said, yeah, but I don't know what I'm doing. Well, I had a guy then, his name was Levi, really knowledgeable, started showing me. And through the years, I've had different people, an artist by the name of Storyteller 417. And then the most recent one, dude that's actually owns the podcast network I'm on, his name Bubba Starts. And he showed me a little more. You got to be teachable.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the flip side of that, if you're the one teaching someone, come at them respectfully and don't come at it with a loving heart. Because too many times people come at someone crossways and it comes as judging.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's okay to help each other out, but do it lovingly.
Well said, sir.
Amen.
Well said, sir. And with that, we're going to tie a button on it. Well, thank you. Thank you, Wild Willie, for joining us. Thank you for sharing.
Pleasure to meet you, Willie.
Yeah, thank you for sharing what you're doing, helping so many people using music, which is, I think, so many people, like 99.9% people can relate to. You found a good, what would you say, a medium of, figuring out what's going to make you feel better and what's not going to make you feel better. So, yeah, thank you, sir. And until next time, bye-bye. So there's one thing that we hope you take from this episode. It's this. It's okay to feel like the world is falling apart. Just don't stay there. You don't win because life gets easier. You win if you don't quit. Every story you heard today came from someone who had a reason to give up, and they chose not to. Whether it's music, sobriety, faith, accountability, or community, healing starts when you take responsibility for your story and invite the right people into it. Huge thank you to Wild Willie Thornton for sharing his heart and reminding us that music truly saves lives. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who's struggling, leave a review, drop a comment, and remember, if you're still here, there's a reason. Find your why, grab a paddle, and keep going. We'll see you next time on Shit Creek Survivors.